I think we need to encourage this culture, but for the employee to go with this, they have to be psychologically safe. So this will take us to the second topic, which is safety is good, but psychological safety is better. This will be delivered by Mr. Abdul Basit Ayub, leadership trainer and coach, Saudi Aramco. He's a leadership trainer and an executive coach, currently working in Downstream Development Academy. He is passionate about developing leaders for Saudi Aramco through facilitating workshops and providing coaching. His mission in life is to develop Aramco leaders, one leader at a time. Dr. Ayub holds a master's degree in human resource management from Newcastle University in Sydney, Australia, and PhD degree from Victoria University of Wellington, New Zealand. He is a certified executive leadership coach. In addition to that, he is certified master trainer. Since I saw the title, I was just waiting for this topic to be delivered. Please, Victor, it's all yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. Because I have the microphone in my hand, I'm not going to stand here. Okay. So I'm going to move around. This is my way of delivering, teaching, and this is I feel more freedom when I walk. Okay. Psychological safety. Now, I have questions for all of you, and I need you to raise your hand if the answer is yes. Okay. First question, have you ever been in a meeting where you did not understand something, but you did not speak up because you felt everyone around the room, they know the answer? If this happened to you, please raise your hand. Yes, 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 majority of you. Second question, okay. Have you ever had the feeling that something is not going right about a decision your team is about to make, but you did not speak up because you felt, I don't want to be the guy who always say no, or the guy who is always objecting? Is this apply to you? Yes. Majority of you, yes. Third question, have you ever witnessed somebody making a mistake and trying to hide it? Or have you ever done a mistake and you have hidden it? Raise your hand if this applies to you. Oh my God. Oh my God. All right. Now, when the above things we mentioned become the norm at work, we don't have psychological safety. Okay, presentation is over. Bye-bye. Okay. So, now, what is psychological safety? I'm going to share with you a definition from Harvard Professor Amy Edmondson. She said, psychological safety is a belief that one will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up, asking questions, speaking up with ideas, asking questions, raising concerns, or admitting their mistakes. Let us dive deep quickly into this definition, okay? Psychological safety exists when we are not afraid of asking questions. You remember the first question I asked, have you ever been in a meeting, you did not understand something? This is exactly psychological safety. With psychological safety exists when we are not afraid of asking the question. Regardless of whether the question is silly, whether the question is valid, whether we do not understand something, if we are afraid of asking the question, we don't have psychological safety. Second one, psychological safety exists when we are not afraid of sharing our ideas. Sometimes you could be sitting in a meeting, the VP is sitting there, or your manager is sitting there, the room full of people, your employee sitting there and say, the idea they are discussing, I think I have a better idea. Shall I raise my hand and say, guys, I have another idea, or no, maybe they will question me after that. Or maybe they will say, oh, how come you challenge the idea from the manager? So better not to share the idea. So we tend to keep our ideas to ourselves. So psychological safety exists when we are not afraid of sharing any ideas. Psychological safety exists when we are not afraid of raising any concern. Sometimes you pass by in the plant, you find people doing something wrong, violating safety. You pass by and you say, oh, they are not my employees. They work in another unit, they work in another department. I'll just leave them alone. Now, why? I don't want them to have an idea that I am interfering with their business, okay? And at the same time, if something go wrong, oh, I'm not responsible, they are responsible. But if a disaster happen in the plant, we all affected. For, la samahallah, if an explosion happen in one of the refineries, see how many people is affected. Could be including us. So psychological safety exists, we are not afraid of raising the concern. الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان. Psychological safety means we change the something wrong by our mouth, by speaking about it, by raising the concern. Psychological safety exists, we are not afraid of speaking our mind. Sometimes we have certain things that is really preventing us from performing well. But we are afraid of raising our hand and saying, my boss, I think I have too much workload. Why? Because, if I say I have too much workload, maybe غضب ربي بينزل علي, maybe. Maybe he will say, yeah, I am not competent, so I better just keep quiet. Psychological safety exists when we are not afraid of trying something new. We're talking about innovation, okay? Now, I have a question. I need a volunteer to answer. Any volunteer? Raise your hand. صديقي هنا مساعد. مساعد, I need you to imagine that I am your supervisor. I come to you and say, I want you to come with a new innovative idea. Quite yes. Now, when you come up with a new innovative ideas, you need to try it. Okay? And you have two options. Option number one, you succeed. Option number two, you fail. If I am your supervisor and say, I need you to come up with an innovative idea, but if you fail, I'm going to punish you. Will you ever come up with any innovative idea? The answer is no. Absolutely. So psychological safety exists when we are not afraid of trying something new for the first time. Okay. Now, psychological safety exists when we are not afraid of admitting our mistakes. I need another volunteer. Anyone in the room, raise your hand. Okay. Okay, we'll ask you here. So what's your name? Badr. Ahsanta ya Badr. Badr, I need you to imagine I am your supervisor, okay? Yesterday, you made a mistake. Tamam?
Okay.
You came to me and you said, I made a mistake last night. And I want really to behave with integrity because integrity is one of our Aramco values. So I said, what is the mistake you have done? You mentioned the mistake. I got angry. I got frustrated. I punished you. I gave you warning, written warning. Okay. Now, in the future, when you do another mistake, are you going to come back to me and say, I made another mistake?
If it's integrity mistake, I should do what?
No, just mistake, normal mistake you have done.
Yeah, no mistake, no. I'm
No,
not coming.
definitely.
Yeah.
Now you left me. You went to your colleagues in the coffee room, okay? And your face looks angry. They ask you, what is wrong? You said, I tried to be honest. I admitted my mistake to my boss, and he punished me. When they do mistakes in the future, are they going to come back to me as a supervisor and say, oh, we also made mistakes? Or are they going to hide it?
They will hide it.
They will hide it. Now, the nightmare for any leader is to have all of your employees are doing mistakes and they are hiding them. So psychological safety exists when we are not afraid of admitting our mistakes. Okay. Now, because I came from healthcare background, people always say, oh, psychological safety is linked to mental health. And let me prove it that it does not belong to mental health. Psychological safety is not a mental health term, even it is not a disease. Okay. It is an HR term. Oh, yes. It has a strong relationship with the organization culture. Okay. Tamam. It has also a strong relationship with employee retention and employee burnout. Okay. Now, employee burnout is not also a medical term because I know I have seen managers referring people to occupational health because they have symptoms of burnout. Employees burnout. Okay. So burnout is not a mental health issue. It should not be referred to the doctor. Okay. So this is a simple definition of employee burnout. It is a special type of work-related stress where people reach to the point where they're physically exhausted, mentally exhausted, and this will definitely reduce their accomplishment at work. Okay. So employee burnout lead to stress. Just keep this in your mind. Employee burnout lead to stress, worries, and anxiety, and also sometimes lead to depression. Now, the last thing, lack of psychological safety is linked with major incidences happening at work. Let me share with you some of those major incidences happen at work. I'm skipping slide because when I received the invitation, they said you have 1 hour to present. That's why I said, great. Now, when I reached here, they said 15 minutes. Then that's why I'm skipping some of the slides. Okay. Here are some major incidences happening because of lack of psychological safety. You can see 9 of them in this slide. I don't have time to talk about all of them, but I will talk about the last one, Boeing. Okay. What happened in Boeing in 2019? 2 airplanes crashed for Boeings. What is the reason? Somebody might say technical error. Now the reason is published in Harvard Business Review Journal. What is the title of the article? Can you read it for us?
Harvard Business Review,
Yeah.
organization culture being
Boeing.
and the importance of encouraging employees to speak up.
This is the title of the article. Okay. Now, let me read just quickly the first paragraph. Evidence is now trickling out of workers in the troubled Boeing 787 Dreamliner plant in South Carolina, were pushed to maintain an overly ambitious production schedule and fearful of losing their jobs if there is a concern. Come on. Lack of psychological safety. If you speak up, you lose your job. So this is a textbook case on how the absence of psychological safety, the assurance that one can speak up, offer ideas, point out problems, or deliver bad news can lead to a disastrous results. This is just Boeing. Now, what about Chernobyl disaster? Chernobyl disaster was also because of lack of psychological safety. What about Deepwater Horizon rig explosion in the Gulf of Mexico in the year 2010? What happened when we had the rig explosion in the Deepwater Horizon? 11 employees killed in that spot. 4 million barrels of oil spilled on that sea. Wow, 4 million. What happened to the marine life? Wow, we have the worst environment disaster. Okay. It took them 87 days to clean it up. And British Petroleum has paid $63.4 billion cleanup fees and legal fees. Do you want another example? Okay, here is another example of this. Oh, by the way, just one thing to keep in your mind about, I need to go back quickly. Yeah. Yes. A survey was conducted on the Deepwater Horizon rig 1 month before the accident. What did they find? 46% of the crew members, they are afraid of revenge for reporting unsafe situations. Imagine, almost half of the crew members who work in the rig, they are afraid of revenge for reporting unsafe situations. Now, what about Texas City refinery explosion in 2005? Okay. Here is what happened there. We have the worst industrial disaster in the recent US history. 15 employees killed in the spot. 180 workers were injured by it. A distillation tower was overfilled with liquid, vapor hydrocarbon, were released in the atmosphere. And it found an ignition source and exploded. Now, British Petroleum Texas City Refinery had 39 fatalities in the last 32 years. So there is a history. Okay. In 2004 alone, they have 3 major incidences that results in 3 fatalities. In Texas City Refinery, HSSE committee or business plan warned in 2005 the refinery would likely to kill someone in the next 12 to 18 months. See, they are expecting the disaster will happen. The refinery would likely to kill someone. It did not kill one person, it killed 15 employees and injured 180 in 2005. Okay. This is what happened in Texas City Refinery. Briefly talk about the safety culture. the safety culture was influenced by the behavior of everybody who worked there, the staff and the leaders. It creates an environment where people are encouraged to deviate from the procedure bias. Now, it also enables acceptance of faulty equipment bias. For example, a malfunctioning control valve reported to a supervisor who subsequently signed the startup document stating that the control valve is tested and they were operational prior to startup. Imagine. Now, I know the time is passing quickly. Just briefly share with you a lot of the things. Now, to summarize, psychological safety and psychological danger. When we have psychological safety, people, they are not afraid of admitting their mistakes, feeling comfortable. So we look at mistakes as something that we can learn from. So the learning in the organization will happen more because we learn from our mistakes more than we learn from anything else. So when we have this culture, everyone will start openly admitting their mistakes. And because everybody is openly admitting their mistakes, we make better decisions and also better innovation. Now, when we have psychological danger, people are afraid of admitting their mistakes. What mistakes happen? When mistakes happen, people start blaming each other. We have the blame culture. It's not me, it is you. Right? Now, because we have a blame culture, people are less likely to share their mistakes. Quite less. And this will definitely impact the common knowledge transfer in the organization. I'm moving again quickly just to show you the last slide. Yes. Okay. And this is a slide from DuPont. Anyone familiar with DuPont? Yes, Aramco people. Now, here it describes the safety incidences when they increase, and here is the strength of the organization culture. Yes. Now, when we have an organization culture that is really weak, we are more likely to have a lot of mistakes. When we put rigid rules, policies, procedures, regulations, checklists, and we believe that if just people follow the rules, the regulations, the policies, and the procedure, we will be good. Now, what happened in here, mistakes still happen. Mistakes still happen. Yes. Now, what we want now, we want to move to the independent stage where people feel psychologically safe to do the 6 things, to admit their mistakes, to ask questions, to raise concern, and to speak up. This is where we will start to have 17% innovators early adopted, and this is will have better outcome. Now, to move from this stage where people are putting rules, regulations, policies, procedures, we make the policy procedures very strong, and we always say, if you people just follow the rules, we never have safety incidences. Believe it or not, safety incidences will happen. But unless we start, people start to believe, I need to follow safety, not because it is a policy, it is a procedure, it's not because I have to. People follow safety when they believe, I want to follow safety. It's for me, for also for my team. Yes. Now, with that, I end my presentation. I'll be ready to answer any questions you have in the question and answer time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for the inspiring talk. Really, when I saw your slides, I was wondering how are you going to deliver it in 15 minutes? How can you convince the employee that they are psychologically safe without convincing the upper management to accept mistakes? Mm-hmm. Because at the end, as you have mentioned, maybe if he admits that he has done a mistake, he will be fired instead of be in a safe, nice place.
Yeah. Thank you for asking this question. Creating psychological safety starts from the top. Does not start from the grassroots level, and that's why the most of the training we do for leaders on the top. Okay, they set the tone. They set the tone. Whereas if we spend all of our day just saying to people, be psychologically safe, report mistake, speak up, ask questions, raise concern, and when they do it, they get punished. as a human nature, they will never, come up with something innovative. Why? Because if they fail, they're going to get punished. They will never report their mistakes, because if they report the mistakes, they get punished. It's like, it's like a human nature. So the best advice we can give for all leaders in any company is creating psychological safety start from the people in the top. And the best way to start creating psychological safety from the top is to measure how much psychological safety do you have in the organization. And luckily enough, we developed a survey to measure psychological safety, 20-question survey. We sent this survey to Professor Amy Edmondson from Harvard. We said, we in Aramco developed this 20-question survey. Would you please have a look at it and give us your honest feedback? She replied back to us and she said, wow, this is really a great survey. Please share with me the results. So the survey is here, the survey with us, and after the permission from my division head who was sitting there, Yahya Al-Daghriri, Abu Abdullah, raise your hand. He is giving us the okay to share the psychological safety survey with any organization they wanted.
Excellent. And I don't want to say that it's easy to be said, but you know that our culture here.
Naam.
So, and I think we first need to change the culture and
Absolutely.
just let the upper management understand that in order to get from them, you have to give them.
Absolutely.
So, okay. And before I go to the question from the audience, again, I think, don't you think that taking a step ahead to link the academia to industry, then bring the stakeholder is much better, like what you have done in Connect. So you create the platform, then you invite the people. Instead of going to the industry, ask them to collaborate with academia, go to the academia and ask them to collaborate with industry, which we are doing for the last 1,000 years and didn't work.
Yeah, I think, as you rightly said, it combines a lot of things and it connects well. So this is an innovation, right? And I think we've been always looking at, so we provide the cloud kitchen now, as they say. Then you come and cook your recipe there. So that's the way we looked at it. If you don't have the kitchen, you're not going to get the cook, you're not going to get the recipe. So the kitchen has to be in place. That's an answer.
Thank you. Before I just open the floor for the question, please rate the session in the app if you can. Any question? Any question from the audience? What a nice session. I don't want it to end.
السلام عليكم. مشكور أخوي باسم. Thank you, Basim, and your speakers. It's either a question or maybe a concern that I need to raise with Mr. Dr. Abdel Basit. We're assuring, as a supervisor for our colleague, that we need to apply this psychological culture. But still, we feel people reluctant to talk.
Yeah.
Even though we're assuring and we're saying everybody is not committing a mistake, that means he's not working.
Yes.
We're expecting people to do mistakes. But at the end, when there is an issue, we speak. What's happening? Everybody's not talking. Thank you. And then I need to leave now. I should start the meeting.
Very good.
Excellent.
The question is why those people are not admitting their mistakes. Could be one of the reasons is one of them admitted a mistake in the past and he got punished, and that's why لا يلدغ مؤمن من جحر مرتين. So people have bad experiences in the past, not just from you as a supervisor, maybe from the previous supervisor, okay, or maybe from their previous employment. When they try to be honest, admit their mistakes, they got punished. They don't say, or they have seen people, actually, they have seen their colleagues got punished or humiliated for just reporting a mistake or even asking a question. Or like, oh, why to put myself in the same position? Look what my colleague, this is what happened to him. Unless we as people in the top management re-changing the culture. And I didn't talk about Ford Motor Company. Ford Motor Company was losing in 2006 $17 billion every quarter, which is equivalent to $6 million every day. The culture at that time in Ford, none of any supervisor, he will admit his mistakes. Everybody was trying to hide their mistakes. You see, Now, the story about Ford is really very interesting. This is a big case study, and I normally spend one day talking about it. Yes. But the message here, when they brought the new CEO to save Ford from bankruptcy, the one thing he did, he created psychological safety at Ford. Now you see Sharikat Ford, Ford Motor Company is now flourishing, you see. And that's why psychological safety is a must for any organization to succeed. Psychologically is a must for any employee to be engaged. I need you to imagine somebody who is afraid of asking a question, afraid of raising a concern, afraid of sharing an idea, afraid of speaking up, afraid of trying something new, and afraid of admitting his mistake. Will this guy be engaged at work? The answer is no.
Thank you very much. Please.
Thank you.
يعطيكم العافية. Thank you for your presentation, great presentation. My question to Mr. Abdul Basit, what is the easiest way to link the psychological safety with the accountability?
Aha, excellent. Can you bring my slide back, please? Because I have a slide to answer. Fully illustrated. Thank you. I'm glad you asked this question. Very interesting question. Perfect. Thank you. Where are they? Yeah, here is the slide. No, not this one. Not this one. Oh, I'm just pushing the back arrow button. Here's this slide. Yes. I need you to look at accountability for results. This is your question. And psychological safety. If we have low level of psychological safety and we do not hold people accountable for results, people will become apathetic. They don't care. I'm not allowed to speak up. I'm not allowed to raise concern. I'm not allowed to do all of those things at the same time. My boss does not hold me accountable for the results. If I come late, nobody cares. I submit my assignment late. Even if I didn't do them, nobody hold me accountable for results, so people will be apathetic. Now, if we have high level of psychological safety and we do not hold people accountable for the results, they are in the comfortable zone. They come to work, oh, nice, relax. If I am late in submitting my task, oh, my boss doesn't ask. This is their comfortable zone. Now, if we hold people accountable for results, the level of accountability for results is very high. At the same time, low level of psychological safety, which means they're not allowed to speak up, they're not allowed to raise concern, they're not allowed to ask questions, they're not allowed all of these 6 things. People will be in the anxiety zone, in the stress zone. Okay. Now, when we have high level of psychological safety and we have high level of accountability for results, this is where we have high-performing organization. And this is where we want to be. Having high level of psychological safety, at the same time, hold people accountable for their results. And I have another slide. This is just for you, especially. You can take a photo. It's just a cartoon summarizing everything I said about the previous slide. Yeah. I'll move away for you guys to take photo. Okay.
I have one question. I know it's time for.
Yes, we have one question.
Thanks everyone for the amazing presentations. I have a question for Dr. Abdul Basit.
Thank you.
Assuming psychological safety is established and someone admits their mistake, does that mean they're not going to be punished?
Yes.
Because if they get punished again, then the problem comes again.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Now, let me just stand up. I like to stand up. Okay. Now, here's the question. Have you ever seen somebody, he wake up in the morning, he take a shower, yes, he nicely dress his uniform, could be Aramco uniform or Kuwait company, or petroleum company uniform, and he stand in front of the mirror, he comb his hair, he do like this, and he says, yeah, I will do 2 mistakes. Then he come to work. Nobody. Okay. Nobody enjoy doing mistakes. Nobody enjoy doing mistakes. Mistakes happen at work because of a reason. Okay? So we need to look, when we start looking at mistakes, we need to find out the root cause of the mistake. Because this employee could have done the mistake today. Maybe another employee will repeat the same mistake again. My mistakes should be, first of all, inspected, then, first of all, mistakes should be expected, respected, inspected, and corrected. This is what we need to do with the mistakes when they happen at work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please join me to say thank you.